Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. If English sounds clear, logical, and confident inside your head, but breaks the moment you try to say it out loud, this video is meant for you. This is not a video about learning more English. This is a video about understanding what is already happening inside your mind. Let me tell you something important right at the beginning. You are not weak in English. You are not slow. You are not blank-minded. What you are experiencing is something very specific and very common, especially among adult English learners, but almost nobody explains it properly. Here is what usually happens. Someone asks you a question. You understand the question immediately. Your mind already has the answer. Inside your head, everything feels complete. Your ideas are clear. Your meaning is clear. Your intention is clear. You know exactly what you want to say. You even know the direction your answer should go. But the moment you open your mouth, something changes. Your sentence does not come out the way it sounded in your head. Your speed becomes slow. Your words start arriving one by one, and suddenly you feel stuck. Then a very frustrating thought appears. Why can I explain everything so well in my head, but not when I speak? Now listen very carefully to this part, because this is important. This problem does not mean your English is bad. It means your thinking and your speaking are not happening in the same way. When you think, your brain does not think in English sentences. It does not think in grammar rules. It does not think in correct structures. Your brain thinks in meaning. It thinks in ideas. It thinks in situations. It thinks in feelings and intentions. But when you start speaking, your brain suddenly tries to change everything into proper words and proper sentences, and it tries to do it instantly. That sudden change creates pressure. And under pressure, your brain does not become faster. It becomes cautious. It starts checking itself. It starts judging itself. It starts slowing everything down to avoid making mistakes. This is why you feel fluent when you are alone. This is why your English sounds better in your head. This is why your words disappear when someone is listening. Now here is something very important that most people never realize. You do not freeze because you lack English. You freeze because your brain switches into a checking mode the moment you start speaking. And the more important the situation feels, the stronger this checking becomes. That is why English feels harder in meetings. That is why English feels harder in interviews. That is why English feels harder when you really want to sound confident. Now that you understand the problem, let us go one level deeper, because this is where most explanations usually stop, and that is why people remain confused. When you think about what you want to say, your mind already has clarity. But clarity inside your head does not automatically turn into clarity in speech. Why? Because thinking and speaking are not the same mental activity. When you think, your brain is free. There is no time pressure. There is no listener. There is no judgment. Your mind can jump from one idea to another without needing to organize anything properly. But speaking is different. Speaking demands order. The moment you open your mouth, your brain feels a responsibility to arrange everything in a way that sounds correct, logical, and socially acceptable. And this is the exact moment where the missing step should happen. But most people skip it completely. Instead of gently preparing their thought for speech, they push raw thinking directly into speaking. And raw thinking is messy. It is not designed to be spoken as it is. That is why your sentence feels stuck halfway. That is why you stop and restart. That is why your words come out slower than your thoughts. Your brain is trying to clean the thought while already speaking. This is like trying to organize a room while people are watching you do it. Naturally, you feel pressure. And under pressure, your brain chooses safety. It chooses silence. It chooses short answers. It chooses hesitation. Now notice something important. You do not face this problem when you already know exactly how a sentence should sound. That is why memorized lines feel easier. That is why common phrases come out smoothly. That is why rehearsed answers sound confident. Not because memorization is the solution, but because the missing step is already done in advance. The problem starts when you have to create a sentence in real time. At that moment, your brain needs one small bridge between thinking and speaking. But because nobody teaches this bridge, you never consciously use it. So your brain panics, slows down, and overchecks everything. This is why advice like speak more or think in English often fails. They ignore the transition. They assume thinking automatically turns into speaking. But it does not. And until you understand this, practice alone will not fix the hesitation. Now let us finally talk about the missing step itself. This is the part most people never consciously do, even though fluent speakers do it naturally. Between thinking and speaking, there must be a moment of silent shaping. Not speaking, not thinking deeply either, just shaping. When fluent speakers think of an idea, they do not push the whole idea out at once. They first decide one simple thing. What is the first clear point I want to say? That is it. They do not try to express the full idea in one perfect sentence. They do not try to sound impressive. They do not try to finish everything in their head. They choose a starting point. But most learners skip this moment. They try to speak the entire thought in one go. And because the thought is big, unorganized, and emotional, the mouth freezes. This is why your sentence feels heavy before you even start. Your brain is holding too much at the same time. Now notice something important about your own experience. When you are explaining something complex in your head, you are not thinking in a straight line. Your thoughts jump. They loop back. They change direction. That is normal. But spoken language needs direction. It needs a starting line, not a finished map. The missing step is this. Before you speak, you need to reduce your thought into a small, speakable entry point. Not the full answer. Not the perfect sentence. Just the first clear idea. Once that first idea comes out, your brain relaxes. Because now it is no longer holding everything inside. Speaking becomes a process instead of a performance. This is why fluent speakers often sound simple at the beginning of a sentence. They start small. They build as they go. But learners believe fluency means starting perfectly. That belief creates pressure. Pressure creates hesitation. Hesitation breaks confidence. This is also why you feel more comfortable after you have already started speaking. The hardest part is always the first sentence, because that is where the missing step matters the most. Once you cross that step, your brain shifts back into expression mode, and suddenly words come more easily. Now that you understand the missing step, the most important question is this. How do you actually use it in real conversations, when you do not have time to think calmly? The answer is simpler than you expect. You stop trying to speak complete thoughts. Instead, you train yourself to speak entering sentences, not finishing sentences. Before you open your mouth, you do not ask yourself how to explain everything perfectly. You ask yourself only one question. What is the first small idea I can say clearly? That is all. When you do this, something interesting happens. Your brain no longer feels overloaded. It no longer feels the need to check everything at once. It no longer feels trapped between thinking and speaking, because now it has a direction. You start speaking with a simple opening. And once the opening is out, your brain follows naturally. This is why fluent speakers pause less at the beginning, not because they know better English, but because they are not carrying the full message in their head. They let the sentence grow while speaking. But when you try to complete the sentence before starting it, your brain freezes. So the real shift is not speaking faster. It is speaking lighter. It is trusting that clarity will appear after you begin, not before. Once you practice this, something changes. Your hesitation reduces. Your sentences feel more natural. Your confidence increases without forcing it. And most importantly, you stop blaming yourself. Because now you understand that the problem was never your English. It was the missing step that nobody showed you. If this video made something click in your mind, stay connected here. This channel is not about memorizing English. It is about removing the mental blocks that stop you from using the English you already know. Subscribe if you want more explanations that feel clear, calm, and practical. And share this video with someone who keeps saying, "I know English, but I can't speak it," because now you know the real reason why. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.